Hello everybody, it has been a while, but are we surprised? No. Today's video is going to be me overviewing the very exciting trip I did earlier this year, which was going to South Africa, where I volunteered with horses. Today I'm going to go through the whole experience, have a bit of a yap with you all, and tell you some of the dramas that went on, and I have video proof. I did record a video a few weeks ago when I got back reviewing the new update, but if we have a look at my map, the update has not been completed. I just didn't complete it, so that's for another day. But I thought this one would get edited a lot sooner, and I feel like it's a lot more interesting. Oh god, I feel like it's a lot more interesting and a bit more unique. I'm gonna aim to not be as awkward as possible, since I've not spoken into a microphone properly for a good 2 months now. So yeah, for some context, I went away to South Africa on a volunteering program where I worked with horses. For those of you that don't know, when I was younger, I used to ride horses for around 8 years. Yeah, probably 8 years. Stopped riding for a few years because of personal life getting in the way, and then I thought, it, why not volunteer with horses in South Africa? And I found a program with this really good company and flew to another continent by myself, not knowing anyone there, and it ended up being the best experience of my life. Honestly, it was incredible. Besides also just the horses, I'll go into it, but we went on these things called game drives, and game drives you get put in like this buggy kind of thing, and you just drive around these parks, which are wildlife resorts where they have wild animals. So we saw elephants, lions, giraffes, all of that stuff. It was incredible. And otherwise, there was also a wildlife reserve that we actually lived on, where the stable was based, and you'd go out on what we call outrides, hacks. You could ride horses next to giraffes and everything, and it was actually insane. I was there for 3 weeks, not uploaded in a month, not recorded a video in 2 months, so I don't really have much of an excuse. But that's kind of the rundown of what the trip was. And the volunteering side of things, it was actually quite relaxed. It was more of a holiday. You'd groom the horses, feed them, that kind of stuff. That was where the volunteering was based. And you could also do excursions, which are completely separate from the horse stuff. So you could go to the Kruger National Park for one day, which is what I did, and you could do quad biking. And I did another excursion, I think. Oh, we did some hikes. That's what we did. We went on some walks, and they were amazing. So I'm gonna start off, I should have probably written a list on the order I'm going to talk about everything, but I'm going to start off with the game drives. So the game drives were just amazing. I'm sure on the screen right now I'll put some footage of just all the cool animals we saw, and the giraffes and elephants were just crazy to watch because they just walk so slowly. No, so they walk at a normal speed, but they look like they're moving in slow motion, but they still cover the same like weird amount of distance. It was actually so crazy to see. But funnily enough, this is where one of the dramas were. On my first game drive I ever went on, we got stuck. The place I was at was around an hour flight away from Johannesburg. It hadn't fully recovered from all of the floods that had occurred a few weeks before I arrived. We got stuck in the mud completely. First of all, our game drive, what are they called? Our tour guide, she called up on one of her friends. They came along. They kept trying to pull out our, I don't know what to call them. I'm going to just call them Jeeps, I guess. That feels very American of me though. No one could get us out, and we ended up being stuck there for around 3 hours, and it was starting to get dark at this point, and it's getting a bit worrying. Eventually we just had a bunch of men come along with their tour guides, and we became the new attraction. That's what we said to cope with the situation we're in. We're like, we're just an added attraction to the wildlife estate. But eventually they managed to get us out. So the game drives were great. And another long game drive we did was the Kruger, which was one of the excursions, and that was an interesting day for me. Let's just say there was a night before which led to not much sleep and me being passed out in the game drive Jeep for the whole day. But you know what? It's a memory. But the main thing I wanted to see there was lions, and we actually had 2 lion spottings, but the first one we had was probably the best. No, it was the best, because we saw these lions getting chased by rhinos. I know it's quite unexpected to think that lions would be the ones getting chased, but it was really cool, and a lion came so close behind us. But also another cool thing that we got to do revolving around the big cats was there was this little cheetah called Duma, and you were able to go pet him. I don't really know how I feel about the whole ethics with him getting petted by loads of different tourists, but he was growing up around people because his parents had died when he was younger. He just loves people, so we got to pet a cheetah. So the next point, which is probably what everyone's very interested in, is the actual horse riding. So we went out on outrides. The place we were in, they didn't have lions or anything dangerous. They just had giraffes and then impala, those kind of things. I got very close to a giraffe once. I'm sure I'll put the video now when I'm speaking about it. Didn't really think about where I was going here. And also there was zebra, and you could get really close to them. That was absolutely fine. And sometimes they would touch noses with the horses. I unfortunately didn't get that experience. Oh, and then we took the horses swimming to a dam. I've never swum on a horse before, but that was a crazy experience. I never owned a horse or anything, so it was really weird for me just being able to get onto a horse barefoot in my own clothes and then just go right off. We had lessons as well, and for those of you who don't know, I am very tall. I am around 6 foot, I'd say. To be fair, the horses there, they were a lot smaller than what I'm used to riding, but I was just put on the small ones, and you know what, I didn't mind because there wasn't far to fall. But again, for those of you who don't know as well, I mainly focus on flat work and kind of dressage work. I haven't jumped in probably a good 5 years, and you know what, this trip was really good clarity for me, because when I went to my new barn that I'm currently at right now, my instructor was like, let's try you on a dressage saddle, you're really tall, let's use your height as an advantage. And of course, when I was younger, I was like, I want to jump high, I want to do loads of jumps. This trip clarified to me, I love flat work. Jumping was not my absolute forte. I can't remember a course for the bloody life of me. Memory was not my strong suit, especially on a horse, because after our first lesson they were like, right, let's do a course such as small gun jumps, and then there's me trying to figure out the distances while trying to remember this bloody course. I just couldn't do it. Although I did have one fall, and it's really bad security footage, so I'll probably put that on screen. It looked like a bad fall. It's quite humbling because usually I can sit a buck, but I'm very used to sitting in a dressage saddle, but I've not got a very strong lower leg, so I usually did half seat, because half seat I just find it makes my leg position better. I just found it easier in general, so I'm not very used to sitting in half seat, and this is also on me not having probably the best seat then. The horse bucked a few times, and I just went flying. And the horse did step on my leg. I got up and I was like, I've just broken my arm in another country. I was insured and everything, so I wasn't too worried, but thankfully my arm was fine. I just had a graze and a bruise, and to be fair, even a month later I'm still feeling it. Yeah, so that was kind of the whole horse riding and everything, those elements. We went on some really beautiful hikes as well, and we went to this one waterfall. Oh my god, it was genuinely a dream. Genuinely probably my favorite place I've ever been in the world. And then we went on this other hike the following week. It got to the point where I was like, you either lock in or we're part of the news headline, because we were climbing up these waterfalls. I almost wrecked my favorite shoes doing it, but again, it was really great views, really good vibes, and we swam next to waterfalls. Oh, and then we jumped off some rocks. When I was jumping off these rocks, I freaked out when I was in midair, and I forgot to close my nose, and I forgot to take a deep breath, and then I went underwater and then inhaled a load of water, and I swear I almost drowned. I'm quite a clumsy person. Literally yesterday I stacked it in Euston. Oh my god, I was like listening to my baddie music. I felt so cool because I'd just been to a concert by myself, and then I just fully just toppled it on the stairs in Euston, and it was really humbling, and I had really loud music on, and then people around me were trying to ask if I was okay, and I just walked away. Let's ignore the humbling bit. But another instance that happened on the last week I was there. Oh, trigger warning, people who have emetophobia. I randomly woke up one night and threw up 7 times in a row, and I hadn't been drinking. By the way, YouTube, I am over the legal age to drink, but genuinely I had nothing, and I just woke up and threw up 7 times. I didn't wake up my roommate, thankfully. I probably should have. In the morning she was like, why didn't you wake me up? And I was like, you seemed really peaceful in your sleep. But the one thing I haven't talked about is when we went on this one excursion, which was quad biking, my friend had convinced me to do it, and then a few of us thought, you know what, that's sick. I was like, I've driven a quad bike before, I've got a driving license, I've been driving for over a year now, I'm a pretty good driver. So my one friend and I, we'd been teasing our other friends saying, oh, you're gonna be really bad, because the grooms at the yard had this buggy. It was really quite difficult to drive. My guide let me drive it once, and to be fair, it was a rough experience, and she was like, we're not doing that again. But I mean, my friend crashed it, so we kept teasing her, being like, you're gonna crash. Anyway, so she wasn't the one that ended up crashing. We got on the quad bikes, they gave us a little lesson. Like, when I say a little lesson, I mean they were like, this is how to move forward, this is how to move backwards, go drive around. I got on the quad bike and I thought, oh god, okay, this isn't looking too promising. We signed a contract. I didn't read it fully, and I thought, you know what, they're not going to take us down any tricky paths. So we started going on the main trail, drove right next to an ostrich, which was terrifying. Gradually they started turning into these weird little parts. Were not easy to drive. I mean, half slanting off a cliff. I was freaking out since I was like, shit, I can't drive a quad bike very well. And no one else was really struggling. But a few times I went into the bushes and I managed to reverse myself out and everything. But one time I went into the bushes and then the two men that were guiding us had to come and guide me out. And there was a little downhill bit and then I saw a tree and they'd angled me up straight for a tree, but they told me to go. And of course there's a slight language barrier here. I was pointing at the tree and I was like, I'm gonna go into the tree. And they're like, no, you'll be fine, just go. So I was like, okay, I'll go. Went straight into the tree and I completely wrecked. Well, I didn't completely wreck. I'll put a picture on the screen. I very much damaged the front of the quad bike, and then suddenly it clicked to my brain. I know this is a qualified excursion, but suddenly I thought, what if they're going to try and scam me? Because they know we're tourists. They know our currency works a bit different. Are they going to try and get a load of money out of me? So I looked at them and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Do I need to pay for this? And they wouldn't give me an answer. So for the whole rest of the 40 minutes we were driving around, I was freaked out. I had to get them to drive me through a few bits, and so I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to, how much money are they gonna charge me? I've already paid a lot for this trip. In the end, I didn't have to, but I did tip them. So that was a great experience. Overall, South Africa was amazing. We went out a few nights, we got to meet local people, and everyone there was very welcoming, very kind in the area I was based in. I didn't actually struggle that much in the heat. Oh, that reminds me of something else. I had quite an unlucky last week, so the quad bike and falling off the horse and the throwing up had all happened in the space of 5 days. And then another thing happened was there was this horse that was colicking, and this was on a Sunday, and people were leaving on a Sunday, and my friend who was leaving was walking around this colicking horse, and she gave me a real call, and she said, look, do you mind coming down to walk her, because I need to pack my stuff, I'm leaving in 2 hours. So I was like, of course. So I assumed this would only be a 20-minute job. If I needed to be there longer, absolutely fine. So I didn't put sun cream on or anything. I was wearing joggers. Bear in mind it went up to 35-degree heat. I'm from Britain, I'm not used to this. And a tank top, no sun cream. So I walked down, and then I ended up walking this horse around for 2 hours and staying down at the barn the whole day. I was with my guide for the whole day as well. We went to a store. Oh wait, I didn't want to do this. Okay, I guess we're doing this now. We went to a store to go grab pizza for all of the other volunteers, and then someone made a comment about sun to me, and then I already knew my back was going to be a little bit red, and then I asked my guide, I was saying, oh, how bad is my back? And she said, oh, you're very burnt. Fair enough, no one had told me because we were focusing on this horse that was dying, so she had some other issues. Horse ended up being okay. And then yeah, I freaked out, but then my sunburn, I actually tackled it really well. I was fully on it. I had aloe vera on it 5 times a day, and I tackled it within 2 days. Never happened to me with sunburn. Everyone was like, it's gonna peel really badly. I was a legend. I didn't firm it. I complained to everyone because I've got really bad health anxiety, so stuff like that just really freaks me out. Yeah, so I survived the sunburn. I feel like that's mostly what happened on the trip. I'm just not looking forward to editing this, since I've got to transfer loads of videos from my phone. All I will say is I very much recommend doing an experience like that. I know I was in a very fortunate position where I have been saving up my money for a while, so I was able to afford this trip, but I do very much recommend pushing yourself. Yeah, I went to a different continent by myself. I was the youngest there, and I had a life-changing experience. I very much recommend doing volunteering programs, even if horses might not be your thing. You meet people there with common interests. You make friends. Everyone's there with the intentions of making friends, and it really forces you to kind of open up in different ways. The group I was with in my last 2 weeks, we had the exact same people there. We really became a family because we had the same living situation. We all shared a kitchen and everything together. Even if it's not South Africa, even if it's not with horses, really take from this video that you should push yourself. Even if it's not a trip to another country, just even going somewhere by yourself. For example, yesterday I went to go see Somba by myself. This makes it seem like I have no friends. I promise I have friends. I'm someone that felt very dependent on having other people around me all the time and having friends around me all the time. And don't get me wrong, I'm still doing that. I'm still seeing friends pretty much every day because I want company. I need company. Try and find comfort in being yourself and surrounding yourself with good people. I feel like this whole final message has really not got across anything I want. I really think it made me more independent and more reassured in myself, and especially what I found from leaving school and not being in an educational environment anymore, and not exactly, I personally myself, I'm a freelancer, I don't have consistent work. It's a good experience to have because the people you carry on seeing and the people you meet really do mean something to you, because you're not going to be guaranteed to see them in the classroom the next day. You've really got to make an effort to see people, and vice versa, those people need to make an effort to see you. It's really good to just be able to push yourself and be proud of yourself for doing so. It's not easy. It isn't easy, but just also find the enjoyment in the journey. But I feel like that's getting a bit deep. This is not going to be a very usual style of video for me, since I kind of want to avoid talking too much about my personal life and what I do all the time, but I just thought it was relevant because it was a horse volunteering trip. I don't know, I'm just very appreciative for the experiences I've been able to have and the experiences I am having. I'm trying to count the distances, but it's just not. 1, 2, oh, guys, what a perfect outro spot. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you can take something from it, not the fact that you need to travel to another continent to be able to find independence or enjoy your own company or push yourself, but just that find your own way of doing stuff. Yeah, I'm not being that philosophical tonight, am I? But anyway, thank you so much guys for watching. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and yeah, I will hopefully see you all very, very soon.